You don't realize how fast time moves until the exam date is no longer a distant idea, but a looming reality staring you directly in the face. And in that moment, when your heart begins to race, and your mind floods with everything you should have done earlier, you start to believe that reviewing an entire semester in just 3 days is impossible. But what if that belief is the very thing holding you back from unlocking a level of focus and efficiency you never knew you had? Because the truth is not that you lack time. The truth is that you have never been forced to use time with such precision and intensity before. And now that you are standing at the edge of urgency, you have a rare opportunity to transform pressure into power by learning how to compress knowledge into clear, sharp understanding. Because when time is limited, distractions lose their value and priorities become brutally honest, forcing you to focus only on what truly matters. And that is where the real shift begins. When you stop trying to study everything and start deciding what deserves your attention the most. Because reviewing an entire semester is not about rereading every page, but about identifying patterns, core ideas, and the concepts that carry the highest weight. The ideas that repeat themselves across lectures, notes, and past exams. And once you begin to see these patterns, your confidence starts to rise. Not because the material becomes easier, but because your approach becomes smarter, more intentional, more strategic. And in these 3 days, your goal is not perfection, but clarity. Not memorizing every word, but understanding the structure behind the information. Because when you understand structure, you can rebuild knowledge quickly, even under pressure. And this is where most students fail. Not because they are incapable, but because they try to do too much in too little time, without a system, without direction, without purpose. But you are about to change that by shifting from passive reading to active engagement, from endless highlighting to focused recall, from confusion to controlled execution. And it begins by accepting that these 3 days are not ordinary days. They are a test of your discipline, your mindset, and your ability to adapt. And if you approach them with fear, you will freeze. But if you approach them with intention, you will find clarity emerging from chaos. Because deep down, your mind is capable of absorbing more than you think when it is placed under meaningful pressure. And as you take this first step, you are not just reviewing a semester, you are learning how to master time itself. As the second day begins, something shifts quietly within you. A realization that time is no doubt longer slipping away unnoticed, but tightening its grip with every passing hour. And this is where most people begin to break. Because the weight of unfinished chapters, scattered notes, and rising expectations starts to feel overwhelming, creating a storm of doubt that whispers you are too late, that there is too much to cover, and not enough time left. And yet, this is the exact moment where your transformation is tested, because reviewing an entire semester in 3 days is not just about strategy, it is about endurance, about staying mentally sharp when fatigue begins to cloud your focus. And this is where the real discipline begins, to separate those who panic from those who perform. Because instead of trying to conquer everything at once, you begin to divide the workload into controlled segments, focusing on high-impact topics first, revisiting key concepts repeatedly, and using active recall to challenge your understanding rather than passively consuming information. And as you push forward, something unexpected begins to happen. Patterns you once overlooked start connecting. Ideas begin to make sense faster, and your confidence slowly starts replacing your fear. But just as you begin to feel in control, a sudden wave of exhaustion hits you harder than before. Your mind feels slower, your memory less reliable, and for a brief moment, everything you studied starts to blur together, creating a dangerous illusion that you are forgetting everything. And this is the turning point, the moment where most students give in, convincing themselves that rest means failure, or that slowing down will cost them everything. But the truth is far more powerful and far more subtle, because what feels like losing progress is often your brain demanding a reset, a moment to process, organize, and strengthen what you have already learned. And if you ignore this signal, you risk burning out completely. But if you understand it, you gain an advantage that most people overlook. Because effective review is not about constant motion, but about controlled cycles of focus and in recovery. And when you step back briefly, Allowing your mind to breathe, you return sharper, faster, and more capable than before. And now you begin to realize that these 3 days are not just a race against time. They are a carefully balanced system of intensity and recovery, of effort and awareness. And as the hours continue to pass, you are no longer studying out of fear. You are executing with purpose, adapting your strategy, refining your focus, and building momentum that carries you forward. Because now you understand something deeper, something that changes everything. That pressure does not destroy you when you learn how to direct it. It reveals how strong and capable you truly are. As the final day arrives, there is a quiet intensity in the air that feels different from the bare panic of the beginning and the struggle of the middle. Because now, you are no longer chasing time, you are aligning with it. And every hour carries a sense of purpose that was missing before. And this is where everything you have built over the past 2 days begins to come together. Not in a perfect or complete way, but in a way that is focused, refined, and ready. Because you have learned to filter out noise, to recognize what truly matters, and to trust your ability to recall and apply knowledge under pressure. And instead of trying to learn something entirely new, you begin reinforcing what you already understand, strengthening connections, revisiting summaries, testing yourself through recall, and allowing your mind to organize information into clear pathways that you can access when it matters most. And this is where confidence starts to feel real, not because you know everything, but because you know enough and you know how to use it. And as you move through this final stretch, you begin to notice something powerful, that your focus is sharper than it has ever been, your decisions quicker, and your ability to ignore distractions stronger. Because urgency has trained your mind to operate with precision. And in these last hours, you are not trying to prove anything. You are simply executing the plan you have built, trusting the system you followed, and allowing your preparation to speak for itself. And even if moments of doubt try to surface, you no longer let them control you, because you have already faced the hardest part, the uncertainty, the pressure, the fear of not having enough time, and you overcame it by taking action when it mattered most. And now, as you approach the end of this 3-day journey, you realize that what once felt impossible has been broken down into manageable steps, into focused effort, into disciplined execution. And that realization changes the way you see challenges entirely, because you understand that time is not your enemy unless you let it be, that pressure is not your weakness unless you surrender to it, and that even in the most limited circumstances, you have the ability to adapt, to focus, and to perform beyond your expectations. And this lesson goes far beyond exams. It becomes a mindset, a way of approaching every obstacle with clarity instead of fear. And as you step into your exam, you carry not just information, but confidence. Not just preparation, but control. And that is what truly sets you apart. And if you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.